but it's more than basic. It's a portion of his rap, but the core is ancient. It's imported like a pack of some more observations are important, like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the tour is a normal placement. Tattoos on my arm in a form of faith. Yeah,
So, last time I spoke to you guys, we talked a lot about what it meant to have a pattern. And the important thing about that wasn't so much recognizing that patterns exist, so much as recognizing that we have to have them. You know, in other words, as much as we want to not make assumptions, we want to not do things that don't involve experience, we have to a certain extent. And the great thing about that is you can actually make an assumption and it be useful if you do it a certain way. And that way is in the form of a story. So if you make a story, then you hear the story, you digest the information in the story, and then you can begin to tell a story that uses that information. That is a kind of an assumption. That's kind of like, when you say, okay, the story, so it has beginning, it has middle, and it has an end. That's a set of assumptions right away. But it's a good set of assumptions because stories can inform us. So today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about how stories relate in the real world, like at the beginning. Like, how do you start a story? Because we all want to tell a story, but how do you begin that? So we're going to explore that a little bit from a very rudimentary standpoint. Just like you guys have been listening to my rudimentary beginning of Tattoo with Children, which you're listening to, Tattoo with Children. I am your host, Flavor Ray, in Seat A. Across from me in Seat B is the Dread Pirate Benjamin. Across from us both is probably the busiest man in East Texas, CIO No Pain.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Happy Monday.
It is Monday. I think we do our best podcast on Monday.
I don't think that's true at all. I think that we, at least I don't do my bad cause.
Fucking liar.
My podcasts on Monday are usually about some shit that's fucked with me all weekend because I don't podcast on the weekend, and so I don't get this shit out. And so on Monday, I'm always dumping on the low. Hey guys, here's Flavor Ray. Blah, blah, blah. And so that's usually Monday.
Thankfully, it doesn't sound like that.
I don't really feel that bad today, and so it's probably going to be up to one you guys to do that today, just to keep our pattern going.
I think Flavor Ray, that Dread Pirate Benjamin over here thinks that we do our best podcast on Monday because we generally just talk about football for about 25, 30 minutes.
And I agree that is a good thing. In fact, we had football this weekend.
How many listeners are we losing by talking about football?
I don't know. I mean, I'm certain we must be losing all the goddamn Germans.
So, football was interesting. The 49ers played an incredible game against the Green Bay Packers. And, Ray, you're going to want to go back and watch the clips of this game because it reminded me of Ken Norton Jr. a lot. That dude, a bunch of y'all don't even know who the fuck that is. So I don't think you should go and look at clips of Ken Norton Jr. I think you just look at pictures of his head, and then you'll understand immediately. So, well, that guy, right, that guy.
So
that is
I didn't watch football this weekend. Tell you the truth.
Marvelously square
except for
head.
The Colts won on Thursday, and then I was just done for the NFL the rest of the week because I had already blissed out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I have to stop you guys. You know what he looks like?
What's that?
He looks like what's the name of that bad dude from that kids TV show?
Wow,
Rotten.
That's so descriptive. I can pull that one out of my ass right away.
What? Robbie Rotten.
Okay.
Robbie Rotten. Okay.
That's from what's the name of that show? Lazy Town. For those of you who have kids and know Lazy Town.
Lazy Town.
The dude looks like Robbie frickin' Rotten. You gotta pull this picture.
Yeah, that's possible. yeah, he does. He does like Robbie Rotten. He's right.
Well, he also looks like Juggernaut from the X-Men.
Yeah,
because his head is marvelously huge, but also his neck doesn't really change. It's just like he's got from the shoulders up, he's just head.
It's nothing but head.
And like it's pretty impressive. But yeah, the 49ers had a real 1990s moment. Like they brought it hard. Like Aaron Rodgers, who for some reason I'm learning to dislike immensely. Could be because
I think because he's made a pact with the devil.
That's possible.
But he claims that Jesus
right
is what he's throwing for, and I just don't buy it anymore.
Right. Well, Jesus, State Farm, who knows? But the 49ers made him regret it yesterday, and it was very 1997. They went straight. They just were like, hey. If we're going to the house, like let's put let's send these guys home in bags.
Right.
It was amazing. It was an amazing thing to watch.
The 49ers are 10-1, by the way, the same record as the Patriots.
Yeah.
Which I'm really disappointed the Cowboys couldn't pull it out against the Patriots at all. That's really disappointing.
Well,
I feel bad now.
It's not incredibly surprising. The weird thing is they could have won that game, but they're still using a water boy for a coach. So that's just how it is when you let the water boy run the team. It's rough.
It was their first chance to get a real solid W against a team that with a winning record, and they failed miserably.
Yeah, they did. It was frustrating. I watched a little bit of that game.
The Steelers barely beat the Bengals, who are 0-11. God,
Right.
the Steelers suck so bad.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Anyway, you wanted to talk about something, I'm sure.
So, sometimes my intuition leads me in strange directions, but I've been running up on this. I've been running up on this type of human, and before I.
I'm sorry, guys. He was searching for a word to describe a creature that he met recently, and the one he came up with finally was human.
Well, the reason I struggled for the word is I was trying to decide did I want to say pedophile or pervert right away.
Right. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah, like was that going to ruin the story? If I said pervert right off
Spoiler
the
alert.
bat? Yeah.
This guy likes kids.
Right. And it's not. So I'm just gonna tell y'all the story, and
Okay.
So I fucking love kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest of 8.
All right.
Okay, I was a part of at least 2 home births.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was around probably 10 to 12 in my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And being the oldest of 8, first of all, when you have a family of 8, one mom, one dad, you tend to hang out with large families. And people go like, well, they have something going, so we're going to take our kids around them.
Yeah, because your play dates at this point become birthday parties every time.
Yeah, exactly. And so Mike, I'm
Yeah, you're fucking everything up.
Yeah, I am. So I'm sorry. So I developed this thing, and then I went crazy in my early 20s, and I went crazy again in my early 30s, and I'm looking forward to going crazy again in my early 40s. But and kids are just pure.
Right.
They have no ability, or seemingly to me, they have no ability to pretend. And I don't mean like play pretend. They have no ability to have that moment and put on something else for you. You're like, hey, I got you these French fries. And they throw them on the ground and stomp on them and then take a poop.
Yeah. Kids have no ability to adjust their ego to fit you.
Right.
To fit you into what they're doing. It's like you either come with me or you just stay where the fuck you are.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
And I love that because adults are just really confusing.
Yes.
Adults can mold what they're doing and be dismissive, and you don't know if it's you or if it's something happened to them. So I just naturally get along with kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting here. So any given day, if, for instance, someone comes into the tattoo shop with a kid, or someone says, "Hey, I've got an appointment with my lawyer. I can't take the kid. Can you watch the kid for 20 minutes?"
Yeah.
Or I got to go to work today, and his mom is going to come pick him up at 5:15, but I got to be at work at 5. Can you watch him, Ben? Of course I can.
Right.
Like, I'm actually really good at keeping kids alive.
Right.
I'm above average, I would say. And I'm pretty good at getting along with kids because I like them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what shape, size, color they come in. I love kids. So, I end up hanging out with these kids for 15 minutes here, an hour there. And generally it's in public. It's at the coffee shop. It's at the tattoo shop, So what will happen inevitably is I will be hanging out with a kid, and we will be in our own little world doing our own little thing, okay? And we'll either be looking at rocks or chasing a gecko or trying to find out what this dirt here tastes like. So we're just doing our own thing, right?
Right.
And inevitably, a person over the age of 50
Yeah.
will be around me, okay? Or they will either walk up, or they will drive up, or they will be in the general vicinity. And then they will ask this question. And over the years, my intuition hasn't picked up on it as much, but recently it's been really bothering me. The question is this: whose kid is that?
Yeah.
And again, I give you that somewhere in this story, there's something that triggers me very deeply, but I wasn't paying attention to it. So this happened the other day. One of the tattoo artists here has a 20-month-old. I've mentioned her before, Frankie. She's 21 months old. Mm-hmm. She's a great human. And so, we get in the wagon, the little red wagon, and we go for a walk. Mm-hmm. We come upon an older gentleman. And this older gentleman says, "Oh, well, she's a cutie. Thank you very much." And I keep moving. I don't stop.
Right.
And we're moving on down. I said, "Hey, whose kid is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's one of my friends." "Yeah, but who?" I said, "Well, it's really none of your business."
It's none of your goddamn business whose.
But, the reality is, well, who's her father? Now, in the past, I've let this go, and I've moved on, and I've been polite.
Yeah.
In this particular case, I dropped you're pulling the wagon with the little
handle.
Thank you. I can't come up with simple words today. You're pulling the little handle. In this case, I dropped the handle.
Yeah.
I moved between the guy asking the question and the child in question.
Yeah.
Moved between them, so now he cannot see her.
Right.
I folded my arms, made a very intimidating look, and said, "What the fuck does it matter to you?"
Yeah.
For all of the intensive purposes, this child is mine. I'm the father.
Right.
So if you need an answer beyond Ben Harbuck is the fucking father of this child, you can step the fuck off.
Right.
And he like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you." And so I picked up the handle and I moved on. And we got our chocolate milk and we went and did our thing.
Right.
But that story's been really bugging me because something in my mind is bringing back how many times this has happened.
See, and the listener couldn't see that, but when Ben got that part of the story, it also triggered me. Like, I immediately felt that red rush that you listeners hear every once in a while in my voice, where I kind of lose my shit. I held it back because I knew Ben needed to rant more than I did.
Yeah, I needed to get it off my chest because I'm probably going to punch a motherfucker in the neck the next time I hear this question.
But that was one of the most offensive things I've heard in a very, very long time. And
are they trying to figure what I want to know from the listener, but more importantly, fuck the listener. I want to know from your perspective.
Yeah.
What is this motherfucker getting at? Is he trying to figure out if this kid's a bastard? Is he trying to figure out who he wants to fantasize about? What the fuck is his what is his deal?
What's the point?
I honestly don't know in this case. Like this, the reason why it bothers me is because this will happen a lot of time because I'm black. Like if I take your kid out for a walk,
Yeah.
or if I'm like walking down the street with Megan,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, who are you? So, who the fuck are you to ask me who I am?
Yeah,
I didn't ask you who you were because I don't give a fuck. So what's your problem?
Yeah, me and this little orange-haired albino girl are walking down the sidewalk. What does it matter to you?
Or if my wife is taking my kids somewhere,
Right.
people go, oh, well, is she adopted? What is your fucking problem?
Yeah,
What are you trying to say?
And that's what I'm trying to get at with the whole bastard comment, because I've never really understood
Like,
what's
what's the information that you want? Do you want to know where her church home is?
Right.
Do you want to know if we run a daycare? Like,
Right.
ask the question that you really want to answer.
Yeah.
That you want to answer.
And I think that's what bothers me is that I can't get the real. I can't, from my perspective. Well, whose parents are these? Well, first of all, whoever their parents are,
It's not you.
they trust me way more than they trust you. And by the way, I'm not giving out their phone number, their home address, and I'm not telling them where you can follow them on social media.
That's not happening.
How about you trip in the street and get run over?
Like, do you like, or like the whole thing? Say, okay, I have this piece of candy I've been saving for the last 6 months. Can I give it to your kid?
No.
No, you actually can't.
No, you cannot give my kid, and again, I'm saying my kid, and it wasn't even my kid.
It is your kid.
Yeah.
Look, okay, like guys, full disclosure here. I work with kids. I worked with kids my entire life. Okay, I've had several jobs. Some of them were kids, some of them didn't, but I've always come back to work with kids eventually. I like kids as much as Ben, if not more. So I'm very sensitive to kid type issues. Guys, do not go up to a kid that you don't know and give them anything.
Yeah.
That's not your fucking job.
Right.
On all the things that could be interesting you.
Right.
At the time, giving something to a child that you don't know should not be one of them.
Yeah. But what is the difference? What I'm trying to figure out is, see, I mean, you and I talk a lot too much probably off the podcast.
I don't know about too much.
But what I'm
But a
saying
lot.
is we should record everything we say.
Yeah.
Because it's really gold.
Yeah.
It really is. At least as far as you and I are concerned.
Yeah.
We're going to really enjoy listening to these when we're old men.
It's gonna
we're
be
going to go
great.
back and we're going to what the fuck were we talking about?
It's going to be so great how stupid we are.
But I know for a fact that you have been. Remember when we used to have the music festivals?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, and so the kids would be, the when I say, okay, so the listeners, the festival goers, the people who love music, they would be like really into an artist, and they'd be like kind of pushing up towards the front to get close to the artist,
Right.
and form like a safe little
Bubble.
East Texas, mosh pit.
Yeah.
And we would have to kind of, and what you would do without talking to me, and I was amazed by this, one of the reasons I love you, is you would create a barrier between the pit and the kids' pit.
Yes.
Now, the kids' pit consisted of anyone from 0 to 6.
Yeah.
But sometimes you get a little insecure 8-year-old boy who wanted to be up near the front, so we put
Yeah.
him in the kids' pit.
Right.
And then it would start getting rowdy as the music got rowdy. We
Right.
start jumping up and down, we start bouncing, we start picking up chairs, we start breaking shit.
Right.
And you would provide that barrier. Why? Well, people would say, well, his daughter is in the kids' pit. But that wasn't actually the reason.
That wasn't the reason at all.
The reason was there were children there that you wanted to have that experience. So for all intensive purposes, they were your kids for that show.
Yes.
You kept an eye out for them.
Yeah.
So if you saw one of those kids say, hey, Mom, I'm going to run to the bathroom, right? You kind of step over 3 steps so you could see, did they actually turn the corner to the bathroom?
Right.
Or were they, being a child, get lost and go out the side door?
Right.
So you could go grab them, back off the sidewalk, say, hey, you missed the bathroom. It's right over here. And you've done that plenty of times. I also have done that. I'll be driving downtown, going to pick up some more caffeine, my drug of choice, and I will be like, hey, there's a kid on the sidewalk with no parent. And I'll kind of look around. I'll be driving my car, and I'll kind of slow down, and I'll look around. No, there's no adults within 20 feet. I'll actually whip into a parking space, okay? Get out of my car, and instead of approaching the child,
Right.
I'll light a cigarette and watch for a minute.
Watch the kid.
Because I just want to make sure the fucking kid is okay. I want to make sure. And sure enough, sometimes there'll be a parent that I didn't see, like fucking around in the car next to the kid.
Right.
Or the parent was taking boxes from the car to inside out, and the kid was just hanging out on the sidewalk waiting. As soon as I know they're okay, well, I put my cigarette out and I'm going about my business.
Right.
I just see an unattended child on the side of the road. It fucking bothers me.
Right.
But that kid could need somebody.
Right.
And I think this, again, it's funny because this goes back to some of the oldest religion in the world, which is widows and orphans. This goes back to some of the oldest religion in the world, which is strangers.
Right.
And in old culture, if you met a stranger in your town, in your village, it was actually considered a sin against God not to invite them in, shelter them, and provide sustenance.
Right.
Food. Motherfucker.
It's an actual breaking of the law.
Yes.
Which you would be punished for.
Yes, you would be. And so my point is, I think it's a very old thing. You see a kid walking down the street by themselves, and it's clear that they're like 9 years old, and you're like, holy hell, what's a kid walking down the street for by themselves?
Right.
But then when the other adults go, hey, who made that child? See, then I get offended. It doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
It doesn't fucking matter who made this child. The child is here.
The child is the child is a child. That's as much information as necessary. All you're trying to do at that point is take care of your kids.
Right.
And people say, well, it's not your kid. Well, every kid is your kid if they're in front of you. It has to be that way.
They can't take care of themselves as a leader in my city, as a leader in my village, as a leader on my block. They're my fucking kids.
How did everybody love that book, It Takes a Village, and never read it?
I don't think that many people read it.
Like I said, they didn't fucking read it. They didn't fucking take it in. They didn't believe the message if they did read it. Like, it's really fucking frustrating that it's 2019 and I'm still saying, guys, it takes a village.
Yeah.
What that means is take responsibility as an adult.
Yeah.
It's not saying that you're taking children and raising them together in a communal love pit.
No.
It's saying that you are the adults, they are the children, act accordingly.
A couple of years ago, we had an incident in the winter. Ray, you and I were at the coffee shop, and you remember this very well. But we had some flash flooding.
Yeah.
And in a very rough area of town where the flooding was particularly bad,
pretty bad.
A child was walking and got swept away and died. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a very difficult situation, and I know it's hard for people to hear, but the truth of the matter is it affected me and you very greatly.
Yeah.
Because we knew of that child. We had seen that child before on the street, and it really fucked me up that I wasn't out paying attention, that I was so concerned with my own goddamn problems,
right,
that when the flash flooding came,
it didn't occur to either of us
to go out and make, like, hey, let's check Bonner and Reggae, where the flooding generally hits the worst,
and make sure that there's nobody on the street.
We can go drive around very safely. You know,
Yeah.
you and I, we're adults. We know what's up. We can take care of ourselves. But there are people who can't take care of themselves and who don't know what flash flooding is. So let's just roll around the block real quick.
Right.
We didn't do that. And I'm not saying it's my responsibility, and I'm not saying that it. I
don't even saying that I could have done anything if I had.
No, of course.
That's entirely possible that I could have done a goddamn thing at all.
But I think that you and I both recognize that as a part of a community, as part of a city, as part of a village, that it actually is our responsibility to plan our lives accordingly in such a way that when events like that occur, we can assist if needed.
Right.
And I think that's what bothers me so much about these questions. Who made that child? I don't care if fucking the devil made that child. That child is a child now.
Because what they're trying to do, I think, is they're attempting to make a judgment. They want, like, people see a situation and they want to judge if that situation is something that they agree with or not. because what's most important to them is what's my opinion about this. You know, like when I post about black spot tattoo, you know, do I post, oh, it's a great place for kids, or no, they're child molesters?
Mm-hmm.
Like, whose father is that? So I know what to post on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's
like, I don't choose for you to be with this child, so I'm gonna call somebody real quick.
right. So like, yeah, this is my decision now about what happens to this kid, and it's all about valuing your opinion over any experience that you could possibly have.
Yeah.
What's actually important is how I feel about it,
Yeah.
and my ability to tell other people how I feel about it. We're going to take a quick break here and come right back.
Doesn't matter if you're cool or hottest, the quad is all present and a loser box. Doesn't matter if you're cool or hottest, the quad is all present and a loser box.
All right, you're back with Tattoo with Children. I'm a little bit calmer now, only slightly. Listen, guys, Ben's story he just told actually fits into exactly what we want to talk about, and it's mostly by accident because we didn't talk about this ahead of time. The truth is, we have to make assumptions. Okay, like we have to make assumptions in certain situations. Actually, in all situations, that's the only way to start gaining information. Because if you don't make assumptions, then you can't experiment effectively because you're asking too many questions at once. And so you have to assume certain things are true just so you can get at so that you can get at any truth whatsoever. Now, what you do is as you get information, as you get experience, you adjust your assumptions. This assumption was not true, and you're willing to change your assumptions. See, that's part of the thing that we get wrong a lot of the time, is that we make assumption and we're not willing to change that assumption in the face of evidence. So, but you very well can make assumptions that are effective if you're making judgments in the context of a story. In other words, you want to hear the story, so you're going to make some assumptions at the beginning of the story, and then as the story progresses, you can adjust your assumptions through the story. That's important, because stories are how we interact with one another effectively. Like if a person sits down and writes a book for you, they're taking a piece of themselves, okay, a piece of their inner world, and they're displaying it for you so that you can consume it and make it a part of your inner world. Okay, that's a very important, uniquely human thing to do. You know, that's like no other animal that I know of makes marks to give information to creatures that they'll never meet. Mm-hmm. You know, only people do that. And we do that because we recognize that our stories are important for the future to advance. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're saying, okay, here is the plot for this situation. Mm-hmm. And what Ben just described was, okay, guy on the street with a child. Okay, this is the beginning of a story. If you see Ben is that guy with the child, you can go ahead and make the assumption that is Ben's child. Why? Not because you know how many kids Ben has, not because you know what Ben's kids look like, but because you know that Ben is an adult, and if he's with a child, then he's treating that child as his child. Mm-hmm. You can make that assumption safely to continue the rest of the story. Now, if you talk to Ben and Ben tells you, no, this isn't actually my kid, this is my friend's kid, and he's right here around the corner, mm-hmm. That's fine. Your assumption is adjusted. Do you see what I'm going at here, people?
Okay.
So I'm like, I know there was a lot of angst. There was a lot of angst about in the last podcast about, oh well, how do I go about getting information if I'm not making any sense? Like I don't want to be judgmental, and people, and I know you felt that tightness in your chest. So like I don't want to do wrong. I don't want to be that guy. Mm-hmm. You're not that guy if you're listening to other people tell their stories.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting the way you're starting this, because it goes back to a very one of our favorite stories, 13th Warrior. Mm. Back when Antonio Banderas was an actor.
He was so great back then.
And
what the fuck is he now? Anybody know? Anybody know what Antonio Banderas is? He's like a carpenter.
I don't know what he's up to.
or just is he just Melanie Griffith's sex toy?
I don't. Is he still even married to her?
Like, I believe so.
Really?
I could think
I didn't know he married her in the first place.
Antonio Banderas, he was the guy that said the most important thing about sex, as far as I'm concerned. He was like, "Yeah, sex is my cardio."
Nice.
Like I was like, really?
Yeah.
Well, fuck this running shit. I'm gonna
Right.
fuck.
Yeah, he's still acting.
Really?
Yeah. Okay.
Is he still married?
That I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Figure
what,
out.
that's what
if he's married.
Wikipedia is for. Who are
I believe it was
who are his
Melanie Griffith.
parents?
No, he's divorced now.
He's divorced.
He divorced Melanie Griffith in 2015.
He's divorced. That is so sad to me.
Yeah,
All right,
it's tough. It's tough. We lost the best of them.
Actually, I don't care at all.
But the interesting thing is the scene from 13th Warrior that I'm describing is the boat pulls up and Antonio Banderas' character asks, "Hey, why don't we jump off and just go talk to those guys in the tent? Those are the ones that have the information we need, right?"
Right.
And his buddy there on the boat says, "No, we got to stay right here." And he says, "Well, they're looking at us." And he says, "I know. They're trying to see if we're real or not."
Right.
And he's like, "But we're 50 yards from them. They can clearly see we're real." And he's like, "Yeah, that's not the way the world works, man.
Yeah,
You need to hold on a second. We're going to move around safely in our area and let them move around safely in their area, 50 yards apart,
Right.
until we can determine that each other is not a mirage." Now, the interesting thing about that is I went, wow, that's actually true. You know, that's
Yes.
what we do with safe places in a community. So, for instance, like a grocery store.
Yes.
Okay? In a grocery store, you can go there and purchase food for your family.
That is true.
But you can also safely watch other people purchase food because it's a safe area. So you can watch this guy pick over the tomatoes while you ask the butcher to cut you a slice of meat.
Right.
And then you notice that they already have some macaroni and cheese made up. You were going to make macaroni and cheese that night, but your schedule's a little fucked, so you're going to go ahead and get some of that while you watch someone pick over the candy.
Right.
Now, if you cross paths 4 or 5 times with this same person who was picking over the tomatoes, right? Mm-hmm. Then you might go, "Hey, how you doing? You having a good day?" Why? Because you passed him 3 or 4 times.
Right.
So you're now developing a story. You're noticing that he has not many items in his cart. You're noticing that they all seem related to a very meager existence, let's say. You know, let's say maybe he doesn't have a full cart. He has 2 tomatoes and 2 cucumbers and a little bit of lettuce. And he also has like 6 cans of Campbell's soup. And you're going like, oh, man, maybe, maybe this person is not as well off as me. So I'm
Right.
making an assumption. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So-
you're building you're building a set of plots that could be occurring.
Yeah, and so then when I pass him on aisle 11, I'm like, "Hey, man, we passed each other a few times. We're both seeming to enjoy this. How are you today?" Because we've noticed that each other is real. Mm-hmm. We don't seem a threat to each other, and so why wouldn't we have a
Why not have a conversation?
Yeah, they're on aisle 11, and so maybe he says, "Now this is where it gets interesting," and I think to your point. He says, "Oh, I'm having a great day too. Thank you for asking." Well, you're very welcome. I noticed you got a few things in your cart there. What do you make it? He says, "Oh, well, my sister has a cold, and she's developed that cold for a week, and so I'm making her favorite soup tonight." Now, your assumptions that he was less well off than you has now been thrown directly into the trash.
Right.
Now you've got a guy who actually has increased in your mind. The story plot has gotten better because he clearly has enough food for himself now, is what he's seemed to say.
Right.
And now he's actually making food for someone else who is less well off. So now you identify with him on 2 or 3 levels.
Yeah.
You're
and
like,
so now
wow.
it's like, oh, this is a potential actual friend that I'm talking to.
Yeah. And then sometimes you see him again on aisle 17. Sometimes you don't. And you always wonder, like, I wonder if I should have introduced myself to that. "Hey, Ben, why didn't you say hello and shake that guy's hand and find out where he lives?"
Right.
And now, here, 6 months later, I'm wondering, is that guy? Is he still taking care of his sister? I
Exactly. That's
wonder
one
if
of the
she got
things-
better.
And so what'll happen is you'll see that guy like a few, if you go to the same grocery store, so you see him sometime in the past, and you go, "Hey, how's your sister doing? Did you ever get over that cold?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh yeah, man, she's doing great." It's like,
Right.
"By the way, my name's Ben," and "Oh yeah, I'm Ray," and then you guys will talk for a second, and like all of a sudden you've had an experience.
Yeah.
Because you're actually can now swap stories back and forth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is the sort of thing I'm talking about. What Ben is describing there is a mixing of spaces, right?
Okay.
So when you go to the grocery store, or when you go to anywhere, we can talk about the grocery store now. When you go anywhere, you are taking your space with you, and your space is for you. Okay, a lot of people will call that personal space, or they'll call that a personal bubble, or whatnot. And a lot of times we'll misuse that personal space, right? Because it's ours. We think that that personal space is sacred, and so we'll do shit like talk really loud on our cell phones, which is the wrong thing to do, guys. Because your personal space, while it does belong to you, it also interacts with the public space very quickly, and so you have to be very careful about mixing your private space with the public space. But your space is taken with you, and if you open up your space to others, then you open up yourself to experience. And so it is a thing that you can do and should do. At the same time, you also have to be aware of creating a space for others and not realizing what that actually means. A lot of times you'll create a space for other people will interact with it, and then you realize, oh God, I opened the space too quickly. This is getting too personal. I want to back out, or something along those lines. Like this whole idea about creating and opening space is a little more complicated than it seems on the surface, because it's very easy that story that Ben just told about the guy in the grocery store. He could have been, oh God, my sister actually had lung cancer and died not soon after I saw you at the store. It's really painful to talk about. And it's, oh God, I'm sorry about that. Didn't mean to bring up anything. Which isn't saying that you shouldn't talk to the guy.
Sure.
But it is saying that he has to be careful about his space, and you have to be careful about your space.
And I think one of the things we do, and again, we don't have conversations about it very much, but one of the things we do is that we read people, and when I say we read people, we make assumptions based on what we can tell about the way people are dressed, about their body language, about the in other words, the look that they're wearing on their face.
But they should be doing that on purpose. Like, we should all be creating our space that we want to interact with public space before we go out. Like, if you feel shitty, then don't be afraid to feel shitty in public and put that out there. That way people know that guy is feeling shitty. His space is closed. Like he's not really wanting to interact. And if you feel like you want to talk to people, put that out there too.
Now, interestingly enough, early on in reading the Hagakure, when I was a very young man in my teens, the Hagakure is a book of the samurai that I found through a Jim Jarmusch film. That I pronounce Jim Jarmusch because I fucking can.
Ghost dog.
And in that book, I was fascinated to find that I think it was at the end of the Edo period when samurai were actually outlawed.
Yes.
This man had wanted to become a samurai. I think he had actually gotten through the first 2 or 3 steps, but then wasn't able to finish the last step to become a full-fledged samurai. And so he couldn't. It was actually outlawed also that he do what samurai do when they can't be samurai anymore, which is kill himself.
Right.
So instead, he wrote a book of all his experiences and of what's being a samurai meant.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things he wrote about endlessly, it was kind of his journal, was makeup.
Yes.
So he wrote about how you should carry makeup in your bag every day because you wouldn't want someone to see you feeling shitty.
Yes.
Now, that's a very interesting thing about Asian culture is that they protect their feelings from being seen and try to appear more like everyone else. So it's very hard to read them.
To the point where actually in the same book, it's suggested that you actually carry incense on you, and when before an encounter with an enemy or a potential enemy, you put the incense around in your hair and light it. That way, if he cuts off your head, when he carries your head with him, it smells good.
Wow. Yeah.
That was one of the most shocking things to me.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I don't want him to think that it was an unpleasant encounter.
Right.
He murdered me.
Right. But that's an interesting thing because we get so caught up in makeup being like a common cultural event. Like, well, I don't like women to wear makeup.
I don't like women wear makeup. That's false.
Like, have you not looked at the French? Like, have you not looked at the Asian culture? Have you not looked at we've been wearing makeup for centuries. Since there have been people.
Since there have been people, we've been putting on makeup.
Yeah, exactly. That's the goddamn
truth.
I was watching Four Feathers last night with. I don't know why. I remember hating that movie, but it came across my queue, and I was like, I'll give it another chance. Maybe I was just being a dick. Turns out I was not being a dick. It's actually a terrible movie.
It's not great.
It had Heath Ledger in it, as well as quite a few other people. But one of the Sudanese guys that he befriends on his journey, right?
Yeah.
Actually put that white powder all over him. That made him kind of look like white and black. Like half dead. Scary as fuck.
Like a zombie thing.
Yeah, it's always terrifying. Like the Zulu do that too. You know, like slap some red dirt on them.
That's so much worse because that's literally like a ghoul coming at you because it's like that contrast between light and dark. Like that's the most frightening thing in human experience.
Right.
That does not exist in nature, and we know it.
Yeah, right. It just and it's not just those cultures that have done it, but very interestingly enough, it does seem to be desert cultures that do it a little bit more than woodland cultures.
I gotta look into that. That could be true.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's an interesting observation.
Yeah. Again, it's part of the story. But let's take a quick break and then we'll jump back in.
Everybody dancing, dog. Yell on that X. I'm a sentinel, standing tall. No time to stand still. Please don't be dog. They're throwing jazz at me to challenge my rap savvy. I sway like Callaway. I'm ahead. You'll never catch me. Ain't worry about it.
Hey, we're back for Tattoo with Children. We were talking a little bit about cultures and how stories start rudimentarily. They start with kind of a mask and go from there. You got something to add to that, Ben, before you move on?
Well, I just want to take a quick poll. What's your favorite story?
My favorite story is the story of Jesus Christ in the Bible, and that's not a lie.
All right.
I really do. I love that story on very many levels. I really feel that it's one of those now, but on the same token, I give equal credence to The Godfather. I give just as much credence to the stories that are told in Greek mythology. So I'm not. While being a Christian, I don't believe it is the greatest story ever told, but it is one of my favorites.
Okay. All right, Mike. What about you? Favorite story?
The Profession, which is a short story by Isaac Asimov.
I am very familiar with that story.
All right. The
Good
Profession. Mm-hmm. Have never heard it.
Tell them about it.
So this is a story that starts off sometime in the future, as most of Asimov's stories do. And what we've discovered at this point in time in human history is that the human brain is essentially programmable. And that in something like the first or second grade, you go into a room and they hook you into a machine, and the machine essentially embeds the ability to read into your brain.
Okay.
And then again, at the end of high school time, you go back into the machine and get programmed with your profession.
Okay.
Because things have become so specialized that learning it, the regular way would take too long.
Now,
So-
guys, if this sounds familiar to you, if you've seen some sci-fi movies and things like that sounds familiar, Isaac Asimov did it first.
Yeah, Asimov was the first. So it tells the story of the main character who goes through the reading embedding, and when he gets to high school, the big thing is, you know, you leave and you're successful with your profession, but some people, rumor has it, don't leave the room. And it's a big mystery, a big thing. And as it turns out, the main character ends up being one of these people. And it tells a story of what happens next and why that is going on. So it's actually a really compelling short story with a lot of mystery.
Have they ever made a movie of it?
No, they have not.
No, but the theme is actually very pervasive in science fiction. So there's been a lot of movies along the same theme. So it would be kind of weird to make a movie about it right now.
I don't know. It sounds really good. I kind of want to go read it now.
What's your favorite story there, Ben?
I probably have two that strike right off the top. Naruto. As seen in Shippuden, Naruto Shippuden. I mean, Naruto, The Tale of the Gutsy Ninja. You can read it in book form, or you can, graphic novel.
You can read in graphic
Manga.
novel, or you can actually watch the anime,
Yeah.
which is one of the very few times where the anime gives you just as much, if not more, than the manga. Like is one of the very few ones that does that.
And then, oddly enough, another series that they're about to make, that's a book series, The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm very curious if they're going to be able to. They're throwing a lot of money at it, which is not always the answer, but it may be the answer in this particular series.
Well, they've attempted the Wheel of Time once before in visual form. Yeah, they actually did. If you look hard enough,
Yeah.
you can find the only part that they've filmed was the very beginning of the first book. If you remember, the dragon had just gone insane and killed his entire family, and so his arch enemy showed up and was explaining to him what just happened, since he was very confused.
Right.
Like they actually did that scene,
Okay.
and it was pretty brilliant because it had Billy Zane.
Really?
Yeah, you got it really is pretty good, but you could tell that whoever made it wasn't quite up to the task of a full movie or anything like that. Like they weren't there yet.
Right.
But I would love to see Billy Zane try this character again, because he was brilliant.
I'm pretty happy with the cast they have. I've got to say, I was pretty surprised because there's a lot of no names. But I'm really big on first impressions. And the girl they cast as Moraine is exceptional. First impression. It'll be interesting to see if she pulls it off.
She's an
'cause
extremely
Moraine-
important character, Moraine.
Yeah.
She kind of gets the whole thing started.
And then I always called her Nineveh. I don't know what her how you pronounce that.
That's pretty close. If it's not it.
But Nineveh, the fascinating thing about that character is she's very, very sexually attractive in the stories, but she's also like a mother type.
Yeah.
And it hits like that if you've read a lot of Freud and Jung, the character of Nineveh super confuses you as a reader.
Well, the great thing here's what's great about the Wheel of Time is he already knows what you're thinking, and so she's taken off the table immediately,
Right.
for everybody except for her chosen person. Because her chosen person shows up right away,
Right.
and he knows it immediately.
Right.
And-
Well, and he has a very interesting story arc too.
Yeah, he's like his character is the one I identify with the most in that story.
Yeah.
So are they doing this as a feature film, or are they doing it as a
No,
series?
No, it's a series.
yeah,
Series.
that's the only way it could be done.
Yeah, I was gonna
feature
say-
film would be a mistake, a massive mistake, and I'm hoping they don't make the same mistakes that the fucking Dragon Queen writers made. It was interesting the other day. Gary V's people posted, "Would you watch another? What was that called?
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Game of
thank you.
Thrones.
Would you watch another Game of Thrones series?" And I think they got like a 92% response
No.
that mirrored mine, which was "fuck Game of Thrones"
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I don't want to watch it again. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see a movie. I don't want to see a poster. I don't want to see an Instagram feed
Honestly,
with it.
the end of the series took all the wind out of my sails for the last book. Like, I don't even care if the last book comes out.
That's I think that right there is a big problem in film and producing. George R. R. Martin ought to be freaking out.
He made a
about
huge
that.
mistake. He made a huge mistake in letting them continue his story before he was ready.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it would still be in culture today, which is interesting because it ended what, 6 months ago
Yeah.
or less?
But like it was, I'm not like it could have been 6 years ago, quite frankly. But it was recently.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
6 months ago and currently right now, the common theme is we are more interested in Donald Trump than what the fuck you have to say.
Yeah.
Like we don't care,
And it's
We
not
don't
it's not
fucking
because
care.
it's a better story to watch Donald Trump. It's because you fucked this story so completely that you've ruined my enjoyment for the rest of it.
You know how sometimes you say, if I saw that motherfucker, I'd punch him?
Yeah.
I never feel that way. I never agree with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter who you're talking about.
Right.
By the way, I got a DM from one of our listeners who said that they only discovered Kurt Schilling because of the podcast. They had no idea who he was.
I had no idea what Christian was.
I thought that was really cool. I
That is
wanted
cool.
to tell you that I'd gotten that DM and forgotten to mention it to you last week.
Guys, here's the truth. Kurt Schilling, he's kind of like Aaron Burr,
Yeah.
where if he had just died
Right.
after the World Series,
Right.
he'd be one of our greatest American heroes.
Right.
But he lived for too goddamn long and fucked up.
Yeah, and but that's the interesting thing too about it is that, you know, as we're talking about this series, The Wheel of Time, I'm really hoping this series, Mike, to give you an idea, this series could very easily, in my opinion, surpass The Wheel of Time. The series The Wheel of Time could surpass Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could definitely surpass Lord of the Rings.
It could surpass The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it could easily surpass Game of Thrones. I mean, I believe truly you could have 15 to 20 fantastic seasons if done correctly.
Right.
And that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, that's people being able to set aside, like, okay, my career as a grip hand, I'm going to be able to move. If you know what a grip hand
Right,
is,
you know what a grip is.
in film, I'm going to be able to go from that, right, to actually directing an episode in the next 2 decades.
Yeah.
And
like you can, in other words, if you enter the film world
Yeah.
on this series,
Right.
you could become famous and never work on anything else.
And I know Amazon is scared of Disney right now, but Disney is at a very precarious point. And I know I'm going a little pop culture here, but it makes me happy. Disney is at a very precarious point with their streaming platform right now.
Yeah.
And I don't worry, by the way. I know how big Disney is. I'm not one of those people who are confused that you can affect Disney's bottom line.
Right, you can't.
But they are at a very precarious point because if they don't start pumping out some new content, they're going to lose about half the people that join Disney Plus.
Quickly.
I would say in the next month.
yeah, I would agree with that as well.
The Mandalorian is crushing the game,
right, and
it's the only piece of content on there that is.
Well, see, and I think I watched what they did is in the Marvel section they dropped Inhumans, right?
Yeah,
And I've watched the whole thing.
yeah.
Is that a new series?
That's a new series.
There's a new series.
And
Okay,
it's-
see, interestingly enough, though, they are not promoting it.
No, they're not. That's the thing. It's the only reason I knew it was there is because I went to Marvel and said, "Oh, they have Inhumans." I didn't realize they were dropping this. Right? They are doing things that tells me they understand how precarious position they're actually in.
Okay.
Right? They're doing the Mandalorian and they're extending it by not dropping the whole thing at once.
Right.
Right? That's the first thing.
I
Okay?
completely agree.
Number two, they are dropping a lot of original content like right away.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and I don't think anybody did, that the live action Lady and the Tramp movie
Yeah.
was showing up on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was going to be theatrical release.
Yeah.
No. Disney Plus straight away.
Well, they need to get their social media. They need to hire a Twitter dude like yesterday.
Yeah.
Because right now, I have heard from 9 people out of 10 who have Disney Plus that The Mandalorian is the only new thing on there, and they're thinking about dropping it, and they've had it a week.
Here's the thing about it. Me being the third person in this room, I don't give a shit about The Mandalorian. Like, I'm over Star Wars largely because they are ending the story. And I don't really care about what happened in the past in that in that universe anymore. Because I've been in that universe for 30 years.
Okay, but actually, they're not.
No, I get it. I'm just saying from the third person
From a perspective.
From this perspective. So, the Mandalorian probably won't win it for them.
Yeah.
Because Amazon has 10 stories that I haven't gotten to yet that I know that I'm going to love.
All right. Here is okay. Let me set a scene for you, though.
Sure.
A warrior has gone against his entire group of people.
Mm-hmm.
He has erred on the biggest mistake you can make in his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
He's pinned down by 50 warriors.
Mm-hmm.
He kills half of them, and he's still pinned down.
Mm-hmm.
And right at the moment a baby is about to die, literally 7 or 8 warriors from his forgotten tribe show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have this massive firefight.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't seen any of them. They disagree with him on almost every principled matter, and he ought to be outcast.
Right.
And he's about to die. The child is about to die. And his biggest enemy within the tribe looks over at him and says, "We're going to give you time to get away."
Uh-huh.
And his eyes say, "Why?"
Right.
And the guy fires another clip and then looks back at him and goes, "This is the way." And all the warriors repeat, "This is the way," and rush forward to death. That doesn't get
No.
you a little curious?
That is something that I would totally watch on Netflix tomorrow.
It's not. It's not on Netflix.
Well, I know that. That's the reason why I'm not going to see it. I will not see that at all because it's not on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. Like, look, Disney has always been good storytellers. Okay, like they are some of the best storytellers. There's a reason why that mouse is still alive after all these years when he should be dead. That mouse should be stone cold dead, but he is kicking harder than anybody because he's a great storyteller.
Which
There's
mouse?
no doubt about it. That's the one. But the fact of the matter is they are late to this game, and they're going to have to do something new if they want to get in. Like this is because the same fucking thing happened to Netflix.
All right, I'm going to make a prediction right now
Okay.
that before Christmas, Ray will have Disney Plus.
It's possibly true.
That's one of that's
do you
one
pay
of
for
the-
Hulu now?
Do I pay for Hulu? I absolutely pay for Hulu.
How much
Yeah.
do you pay for Hulu?
I don't know. You have to ask my wife.
Well, you check that out because you can get Hulu and Disney Plus and ESPN packaged together for $12.99 a month.
See, I'm probably not going to do that though.
I know.
But-
They're like,
but ESPN.
I understand.
But it's entirely possible that I could do that.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Ben said that, I was
No,
like,
he's gonna try to fight this because I made
it's
the bet.
Right.
No, I'm
exactly.
not. I see. That's listeners. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to hold myself to an impossible standard. I'm going to just open myself up to experience. I heard the Mandalorian. I'm going to read about the Mandalorian.
I'm gonna tell y'all a little story. It's gonna
Okay.
be December 22nd of 2019. It's gonna be cold as fuck outside. Ray's entire family is going to be asleep. He's going to get home from work at like 2 a.m.
It'll be early in the morning.
He'll be going through the fridge, frustrated that there's no food. He's going to go to the television. Ray, you're ruining the mood with your laughter. He's going to go to the fridge. He's going to be frustrated. No food in the house. He's not going to want to cook because then he'll wake the family up.
Right.
By the way, listener, you can't see this, but I'm twirling my tiny mustache. And then he's going to go to the television and he's going to get on Netflix. And he's going to go scroll for like 8 minutes, which is a long time on Netflix.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go to Amazon Prime and he's going to scroll for about a minute and a half. And then he's going to go to Hulu and he's going to find nothing. And in a moment of weakness and rage, he's going to download Disney.
Absolute rage.
Yeah, he might break the Fire Stick and then have to like get a new Fire Stick, which Amazon will deliver in 3.5 minutes to Hudson.
I'll tell you, like, that's not how it's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. My daughter is going to, I'm going to be like, you know what? I looked into Disney Plus. It's not worth it. I'm not doing it. And then my daughter, Audrey, is going to walk in that same time period, 2 a.m. Go, hey, I'm just wondering, could you find a way for me to watch The Mandalorian? And then I'm going to break everything in the living room, grab my phone, and get Disney Plus. And then I'm going to text Ben, fuck you, I hope you die tonight. And that's what's going to, then I'm going to have Disney Plus. That's how it's going to happen.
And the great thing about it is then he'll go to his truck and sit in his truck cold as fuck and record this 25-minute rant that you can get on our currently unexisting Patreon account.
Right, our soon to be existing Patreon account. And it'll all be about how people put stuff in the universe without thinking about what could happen because of their fucking words.
There's not any fucking consequences. Consequences don't exist.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's gonna be. It's
gonna
be a great moment.
epic.
It's gonna be Ben's Christmas gift. Since neither of you two dickwads are gonna get me one of the new Tesla trucks.
You know what? I may buy one of the new Tesla trucks just because it's something that I can't afford. Just because it's because I know it's money that I don't have. I may just buy one just to put pressure on myself.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of like it just because I feel like if we support this movement, we will make ourselves further hated in the community.
Which is important.
Like the Dodge and the Ford and the GMC drivers will all be like, look at these fucking idiots.
These assholes with 3 goddamn Tesla trucks in the middle of East Texas.
Yeah.
Who they think they are?
Right. Yeah, it's almost the most obscene thing I can imagine in East Texas, actually.
What'll be more obscene is when I wrap all 3 of them with the words, "You're listening to Tattoo with Children." Which we're listening to Tattoo with Children. I've been your host, Flavor Ray. You can find Tattoo with Children on Tattoo with Children on Facebook and on Tattoo with Children on IG. You can find us on Twitter at Tattooed With. And you can find me on Twitter at Madara Shadows. You can find me on IG at Hunter Vanguard. No, it's not Hunter Vanguard. I just reversed that, didn't I? You can find me on Twitter at Hunter Vanguard. One word, Hunter Vanguard. You can find me on IG, Instagram, at Madara Shadow. Which, by the way, I recommend that everyone go to my Instagram because it is dope. You can find Ben on Instagram at Black Crow Brother. You can find him on Instagram also at Black Spot Tattoo Company. You can find Mike Payne at CIO Payne on Instagram and at Payne.points. That's Payne spelled Payne. This has been a Monday podcast, guys. It was a little long, but I think it was worth it.
Yep, I'm here.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Love you.
We were born to bring it back, but it's more than basic. It's a portion of its rap, but the core is ancient. It's supported like a pack of some more observations. They're important like the fact that we're bored of fake shit. More creative, have the floor, so take it. Travel to the tourist